Hello, my friends. Welcome to Carpo's Cave. This is where I hang out and do my thinking and my work and my business and everything else. And I decided to do this video standing up because, sitting down actually cuts off circulation to your brain. Sitting actually makes you dumber, so to speak. Sitting is the worst thing you can do for yourself. So if you really want to get something done and have a good thinking pattern, standing up can often be a good solution. Anyway, enough about standing and sitting. Where do I start today? Well, every day when I come home, I drop stuff off at the post office. Anytime that I come home, I always run into some asshole on the road. Today I actually said asshole to somebody, and I think, why do I do this? Some people are, I'm not an angry person by any means. But I find that when people do stupid things on the road, and this isn't just about driving, this is in general, when people do stupid things, I've always been the first one to speak up. Because I feel like other people don't. And if people don't speak up, then others will continue to do the things they do. Like cutting in line, or the people that wait to the last minute to get in for an exit or something, and you can tell they do it every day. Stopping in the middle of the freeway and backing up to get off the off-ramp, that kind of stuff, it's just ludicrous. And it's when you can notice it most when people are in their cars, because when people are walking around, people do stupid things too, but it's a little more forgivable. But my point being that it's very difficult for me to live the way, with the mindset that I want to live about people. The reality that I want to see, that I want to have faith in humanity, I want to have hope for our future, I want to think that people in general are conscious and aware. And I will look at the big picture. Millions of cars driving on the roads every day, and there's very few accidents. Most people are paying attention one way or another. But we all have varying degrees of attention. And we're distracted by our phones, our music, and all these different things. And our thoughts. And it's easy for one person to say, this person shouldn't be doing this. I'll give you an example. If you're on the freeway and somebody goes flying past you, it's easy to think, what an asshole. They're cutting in and out of traffic. However, maybe that person's going to the hospital. Maybe their wife's having a baby, or maybe they are bleeding to death. Nobody really knows. So we prescribe situations to people, or rather judgment calls about things we don't understand. And this is what I've been trying to prevent. And this is kind of the theme here of my video, which is we're always trying to put a label on everything. We want to fit everybody into a category, in a box, as well as everything, and it just doesn't work that way. You can have general discussions on just about anything in life, and people are going to have widely different views. Even though they may agree on a subject, you may say something like, oh, I believe in God, and the other person says, oh, I do too. And then you get discussing it and find out they're completely different ideas. And that's an extreme example, but, you could say, oh, I like rock music, I like punk music, and totally not like what the other person likes, yet be connected on the level that you both like something similar, if you know what I'm saying. So, if you consider the way, I'm going to kind of switch modes here, if you consider the way that molecules work, or I should say the way that atoms work, okay? This is what I've always used as my metaphor for everything. And it really goes back to the as above, so below thing. An atom, certain atoms attract each other. Now there's an electron exchange. Maybe there's a missing electron in one, and I'm not a physicist, I'm not going to get into that, but certain atoms tend to attract others of the like kind, okay? Now there are certain, I have a point here. There are certain elements such as like aluminum, where you won't find it in any large quantity, you just find it in minute particles. Now gold is the same way. It's from the center of exploding stars, right? And then all this gold dust, this golden atomic structure is all around the Earth, and then there's volcanic activity, and that pressure and volcanic heat forces hot water up through cracks. That water gathers these gold molecules, and that's how they condense into the veins of gold. Okay? Only certain processes okay, push certain atoms together. And likewise, only certain processes, chemical reactions and whatnot, will bring certain atoms together if they're compatible and form molecules. And you can't just throw any old atom together to form a molecule. And the comparison I'm trying to make is with people. You can't just force two people together that don't want to be together. We can use this as a very important, in my opinion, metaphor or, archetype for humanity in general. I never get messages unless I'm making a video. The archetype for, archetypes and metaphors, the idea that I was talking to my son the other day, and we were talking about gravity, and it was really weird because it had been a day where I'd been thinking about gravity all day, and I had one of those epiphanies, okay? I would call it a Satori experience. Anybody who's had that Satori experience is like an all-at-once awakening. Everything looks different. It reminded me of the Vuja Day, which is, somebody used that as a label for the opposite of deja vu. Deja vu is seeing something and think you've been there before. Vuja Day is seeing something you've seen a million times before and seeing it new. And if you've ever read a chemistry book explaining how atoms are empty space, you might be driving one day and say, oh my God, I'm floating on these energy. Everything is just energy, right? And there's actually a story of the guy who discovered this, who realized that atoms are mostly empty space. He said the first time he walked outside, he said he was afraid to take a step because you might fall through, and it's because your mind's realizing what's really going on. And so we have all these amazing, scientific discoveries about what atoms are, and they end up being, basically empty space. But we're talking about gravity. Gravity was the trip that I had the other day when I was leaving the store, and I realized it was just all at once where I saw that the trees are fighting gravity at just the right level, just as we are, standing. And then I came home, and there was one video on my subscriptions. It was the World of Batshit Crazy, and of course it was called Gravity. And it was about the conspiracy of gravity, the flat earthers that don't believe in gravity. They've created this entire, delusion about that gravity doesn't exist. That's a completely separate subject, but it got me thinking about how molecules attract to each other, okay? Or how atoms attract to each other. And it's almost, even though it's an electron exchange, or it's very similar to me to the way that, see, the black hole is the nucleus of the atom, the black hole in the center of the Milky Way galaxy. And you have these protons, and when I said this to my kid, I said, the black hole could be the neutron. He's 6 years old. And he goes, and the stars could be the electrons. Fucking genius, Kids totally get it. And they just, of course, this is a total, my own perception or theory or metaphor, whatever you want to call it. But it helps me to understand why certain people, and this is to bring it full circle, this video, why certain people don't resonate with us. And there's nothing we can do to change that. That if we look at the microscopic world and we look at the macroscopic world, such as, look at this, we have galaxies that are all in these gravitational orbits, and then they have what they call dark matter, okay? Dark energy and dark matter, pushing everything apart. It's invisible, we can't see it, but we know it's there because of the effect it's having, okay? Now, it's the same thing with humans, okay? There seems to be a, quote, what you might call a dark matter that just keeps certain behaviors, certain people apart. And it's nothing that we can change. It's almost as if it's set up this way. I may be completely off base thinking this, but this also goes for each individual. There are certain repulsive behaviors or things that just do not work for you, that may work for others. And some of this may be learned, but some of it may be not. And so when you're out dealing with people, you have to remember that when you agree on certain levels, you may have very similar structures, but you're not compatible. You can work around that, but I have a hard time working around people who are shallow, and it's always been my biggest problem with going out in public, is dealing with idiots. And it kind of makes me look at myself. I'm always observing myself. I'm like, oh, dude, you know better than that. But I've been through these very peaceful mindsets where I just say, accept everybody, love everybody unconditionally. And I'll tell you something, it just doesn't, it doesn't work long term for me. I can't just pretend like everything's okay when people are doing stupid things. So anyway, that's something I've been working on in my life. But at the same time, when I see something like when I pulled out of the post office today and there was a pickup truck in front of me and it had a handmade sticker on the back window, it was like in duct tape and it was written on it and it says, "Say no to same-sex marriage." And so I went around and drove past the guy and just shook my head at him and I didn't even know what to say. Obviously I can't honk and yell at the guy, because that's his choice, his freedom of speech. Nor would he even know what I'm probably talking about. But what bothers me is the fact that people are so xenophobic that they're forcing other people to, or rather, telling other people what to do and what not to do. Like, how does it affect you that gay people get married? And the people might say, well, I'm affected because I'm a Christian, and because marriage is a Christian thing, a union between a man and a woman. We redefine things every day. It doesn't matter what you think about marriage. Marriage is the connection between two people. And just like the atoms, same-sex couples, there's something different about them and the way that they think, whether it be genetic, whether it be environmental, it doesn't matter. The fact is that these are people that choose or don't choose, but they're choosing to have a particular lifestyle, and that's their choice. And I'm trying not to I shouldn't use the word choice, because people will say that's not a choice. Okay, it's what they do, and whatever people do should be accepted by all people. It doesn't mean that we have to accept people who do things that harm others. And I think that this is where we need to really focus and draw the line. Say, is the behavior harming society as a whole? Is it harming individuals? Is it harming yourself, or is it harming others? If your behavior is hurting yourself, then it perhaps needs to be dealt with. If it's hurting others, you may not even notice it as much. This can be the grumpy asshole husband that treats his wife like shit. He may never lay a hand on her, but he may belittle her and make her feel crappy. He may be a horrible father, and never hug or love his kids. And the same thing with the wife. Every couple has their problems, but we work them out. And people are different. And I think embracing the differences is important. But being aware of how your actions affect others is very key to living a happy life. And more importantly, I guess, living a happy life with those around you happy as well. So, we're all just human, right? Doing our best. That's my rant for the day.